This episode of the Busted Wide Open podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry offers the best media hosting, accurate listening stats, and their all-new PowerPress Deluxe sites. A no-setup WordPress website for your podcast with all the necessary links to share your show with the world built right in. If you currently produce a podcast and are looking for a better host, or if you're looking to start a new one from scratch, head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO and sign up for the best media hosting and a PowerPress Deluxe site to get your first month absolutely free. That's orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO, or just use the promo code BWO at checkout for your first month absolutely free. And now, enjoy the show.
Hello, this is the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, and you can't tell, but right now I'm dressed as Deacon and not the Fallen Angel because I'm at Waterworld, and you are listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast because there's degrees. There's a little bit busted open, but this is Busted Wide Open. You're listening to us, so thanks for listening.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open podcast, our patron Mailbag. This is episode number 12, and my volume is really loud. And I think it's only coming in on one ear, so let me fix that real quick. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. And yes, Nick, as you said, welcome to the Patron Mailbag episode. Sorry for the technical glitches, but we're still getting things under control over here after a crazy holiday season. But we are back. Woo! And thank you for joining us here on this show that we do for our patrons who give us questions, and we answer them. And thank you to all of our patrons who have given us questions for today's show. If you would like to give questions to us to be answered on this show, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/BWO and sign up and become one of our lovely, lovely patrons who support everything that we do here and help us get this show out there to you guys.
Yes.
And then you can get all kinds of sweet swag and have your questions answered on the show, long form, the way we like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
except
also,
no bonus episodes. That's no bonus episode questions, guys.
Oh, I don't mind that at all. Like, I like being inspired for bonus episodes we can do in the future.
That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, I love that stuff. So yeah, throw them questions this way. They fun. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to what we have today. But that being said, Nick, this is technically our last show of the decade, of the year and the decade. We're off this coming. Usually we are on live on YouTube every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and every Saturday at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. This Tuesday, however, we will be off because of New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
So we will be back every single Tuesday and Saturday, starting on this coming Saturday, the first, second, third, fourth of January, a week from today. But yes, Nick, I'm ready for these questions, man. I am psyched up.
Our final listener questions of 2019. Thank you guys very much for all of these. They are awesome. Every single week is one of our favorite things to do. And kicking things off today, Martin asks, we all know Roman is the man in WWE, but if you had the pencil, who would you make the top man? By the way, missed you guys. Hope you both had good Christmases. Thank you, Martin.
Missed you
Hope
guys
you did
too,
as well.
Seriously. Thank you.
Good. You want to go first?
Drew McIntyre.
Braun Strowman.
See, I think Drew has more upside. I literally can't think of a downside with him. He can be, fair. You know what I mean? Like he's got everything. I'm actually unsure why they haven't strapped him yet. And I think it's only because Roman's already there.
Yeah.
And we've said this before. Like I've said before that if I were starting a promotion, Drew would definitely be a guy I would look at as being like my number one top dude. The only downside to having Drew is that he's so much bigger than so many other wrestlers these days that having him be a top baby, it would be hard to see him being dethroned, and you'd have to give him some worthy bad guys, and you couldn't really have like a lot of little heels that would be believable against him.
Yeah.
The only downside I can think of, and Braun Strowman would be even worse with that. Braun's a monster. I don't know if you could have him be the man because, again, he's more of an attraction kind of guy. How long can you have a monster be your top guy? I don't think there's a lot of longevity there, although I know why you'd want to have him be there. But do you think at this point that Braun could be rehabilitated?
Well, I thought that was going to be the case going into 2020, and then he danced last night with the New Day in the middle of the ring, and I was just like, God, no.
Brodus Clay
No.
Part 2.
Oh no!
Yes.
It's the Michael meme gif.
Stromosaurus.
Just no, God, no! Stop! No!
The big Stromosaurus. It's happening.
Yeah, they're making a bit of a mockery out of him, and I don't know. Why don't you have Nicholas come out with him and have another tag team match at Mania again?
You
Vince?
loved it at the time. Don't you walk that back.
I did because he had nothing else to do, and I thought it was kind of a fun thing.
Yep.
2
You didn't
years
realize.
ago.
You didn't realize it's that first knuckle. That first knuckle just sliding up in there. There's the whole rest to come, and I'm sitting there going, nope. I see where this is going. This is the proctology exam, and you've only just begun.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that there's still some rehab they would need to do on Braun before that. But I say D-Mac.
Yeah.
Would be my top guy.
Thank you very much for the question, Martin. Next up, we got Marshall. Choose 5 wrestlers that you would cast as the following: Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, Chucky, and Freddy Krueger.
Oh, I love you, Marshall. You right up my alley.
This
here.
is all your. This is all you.
Let me get comfy here. All right. So Michael Myers, I would cast Tyler Mane as. Oh wait, too late. They already cast a pro wrestler as Michael Myers. They cast Tyler Mane, aka Sabretooth. No, I would not have cast. Although I like 6'11" hulking Michael Myers, that's not my Michael Myers. My Michael Myers is 6 foot, 6'1". He's just the shape. The whole idea behind Michael Myers is he's just kind of there. He doesn't move fast. He doesn't lumber. That's Jason. Mike just walks very calmly across the concrete to get you. So he's just a regular guy. That's what makes him creepy. Is he's any man. He's like an avatar. So someone who is of average size, who has a lot of stillness to them, would be someone I could see casting as Mike Myers. And I'm racking my brain right now to think, because I've never thought of this before, like who I would cast as Michael Myers. But
does anybody have any particular stabby kind of signature or finishers?
It wouldn't even have to be stabby. It would just be something for me, it's just in kind of the way that they would move. And I'm going through everyone in my head right now and thinking of who, as like a modern wrestler, would make a good...
Who's very methodical, very intentional, very...
Exactly.
Right?
I'd say Samoa Joe, but, obviously wrong size.
Yeah.
Plus size Michael Myers is also not really... something I'm looking for here.
Husky Michael Myers.
Husky Mike Myers. Not quite. It's funny. He's a little short for it, but almost Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
That would be a fun one. Little tall, but Luke Harper.
Yeah, I can see that.
Would be a good Mike Myers. I mean, you'd have to, shave his beard, but Luke Harper's got that. A little bit of that.
It's a little bit mangy anyway. He should probably just get rid of that thing.
It's easier to pick Jason Voorhees because,
I don't know. That's harder for me because there's so many candidates that I think would be good for it.
Well, yeah. You get a big guy who lumbers around and just seems menacing. Prime era Kane would be obviously the logical choice. And they even made a movie called See No Evil with Kane, where he basically played a Michael Myers kind of character, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees kind of character, big lumbering serial killer kind of guy.
Yep.
I see. It's funny because I would actually pick Tyler Mane for Jason over Mike Myers because I'm all about the big lumbering post Friday the 13th 4 or 5 Jason, where you get to Jason 6, where it's or even like a Kane Hodder. I wouldn't even mind that.
Yeah.
Just like a big lumbering super zombie Jason. So, who was it? We were talking the other week about people that can just stand in the ring and they just stand there and you go, who the heck is that guy? Prime Kane, Luchasaurus can do that these days where he just stands there. You go, who's that? So someone like that would be great. Uh,
I'm gonna throw a Brock Lesnar in the ring for a
yeah,
Jason,
so
for a Jason Voorhees.
the problem with Brock is the way he's shaped is wrong.
Yeah,
He's too much of a block. You know what I mean? Jason's tall and thick, but he's not just like thick. Maybe if you throw the makeup on him, I could get behind it. If someone can do like a Photoshop of Brock as Jason, I might come around on that. Brock with the hockey mask on.
and
Leatherface
coveralls.
Yeah, right. Leatherface is pretty easy for me. Like ever since he came out in the face skin, he came out in like the butcher's apron.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer.
Was Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, and he's erratic and he moves around and he's kind of
the way he
unpredictable.
moves.
Yeah.
With Leatherface, you want someone who's kind of out of shape, maybe a bit doughy, but still big, thick. You believe he could pick you up and just whisk you off. But as you
could
said,
see him cutting. You could see Bray Wyatt as like your local butcher at the Ralph's. You could picture that.
Right. Someone else who's the right physical shape for it is Tucker from Heavy Machinery.
Oh,
I don't think acting wise, no, but physically, he's a Leatherface kind of body. I'm just racking my brain thinking, who else is out there who would be a good Leatherface physically.
Well, the next two are going to be the more fun ones in
Evil Uno. Chucky actually is easier for me. MJF. Because Chucky, he's not. You don't have to worry so much. I mean, Brad Dourif played him when he was in physical form, but it was so short, it doesn't really matter. You realize more about the voice, and Brad Dourif's also a brilliant voice actor. So it's more about his attitude and his voice than actual, how you look. And for me, of course, there's no one who can talk more shit these days than MJF. And just him screaming and yelling when he finally comes to life, like, you bitch, you figured me out. How dare you, son? I'll kill you. Like that, MJF would be really fun as Chucky.
I didn't think about that. That's fantastic. I was trying to put it. I was doing like physical impression, not really like the voice. But that's a great way to look
El
at
Torito.
it. El Torito, Hornswoggle.
Of course.
The obvious answers, right?
Right.
I would throw Daniel Bryan into this one as well.
As Chucky.
I think as Chucky. Yeah. I think he could do a good job of it.
That's so messed up, and I love it.
Yeah.
Last
but certainly not least, Freddy Krueger.
Oh, God, I'm so stupid. For Jason, Walter.
Yeah.
Boom. God, of course. Jesus. And so last one, Freddy Krueger.
This is the one I'm kind of stumped on.
This is a little tough.
I think
because
you spurred me a little bit with what you were saying about Chucky, because a lot of it has to do with the vocal, the reeds, right?
Yep. The pipes.
I think Freddy is one of those with all the quips and the quick-witted kind of things, but he's also
It depends on if you're talking
mental.
about like Nightmare 1 and 2, where he's more of like just an evil guy who he'll throw some one-liners at you, but they're sinister, they're menacing, as opposed to like 3 and beyond until New Nightmare, where he became more of a cartoon character, and at a certain point it was just you were blatantly supposed to root for Freddy.
Yeah.
Where he was like, he's got the power glove and he's, riding outside the window on a broomstick and doing the Wizard of Oz. Like he's just a complete, he's a goofball. He's a cartoon character to a certain point. And I would love to see them get back to darker, scarier Freddy. Or if you even wanted to have like Freddy versus Jason Freddy, which I think is the best Freddy.
Me too.
Fight me. Freddy versus Jason, Freddy, and Freddy versus Jason were the perfect distillations of both of those characters.
There are purists that absolutely loathe that film even exists, and I challenge them every time. It's the most fun I've had watching a Freddy or Jason movie, maybe ever. So
yeah, and it was honestly like that is the perfect distillation of all those characters where they were at the time. You can retcon whatever you want. You can say, "Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street 1 Freddy's my favorite." But if you want to get scary, Nightmare 1 Freddy meets Demon Freddy meets funny Freddy, he's all of those things in Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Big, lumbering, dumb, super zombie Jason. That's him in Freddy versus Jason. He just finds a bunch of kids partying in a field. He's just murders all of them, catches on fire. He still just keeps going after him and hits him with a flaming machete. I haven't marked out that much in a horror movie ever. Like Jason walking through the corn, just trailing fire behind him and just killing kids.
Yep.
Great stuff. But Freddie's tough because he is so unique, and it's why it's so hard to find anyone but Robert Englund to play him. Because Englund has just kind of made him so himself. You could argue that Durf is the same with Chucky, and they didn't do a good job with the new movie. Obviously Kane Hodder is kind of iconic as well, but I feel like it's easier to recast Michael Myers or Jason because he is a guy in a mask. It's just about his physical shape and his body, and Leatherface to the same extent as well. Chucky and Freddy are harder, and Freddy might be the hardest of all. It would be easy for me to immediately just say Minoru Suzuki as Freddy, if you could somehow translate him or get a different person to do the voice, because he's the right physical size, and he certainly moves, like he can move really quick and scary. But something, if you had him in the makeup, his eyes are terrifying. Like he actually wants to kill you and eat your babies. But aside from that, I'm trying to think of like guys who could pull off the Freddy attitude.
Velveteen Dream is my
Too
curveball
tall.
to throw at you.
Too tall.
I'm talking about just from presence and vocal ability and all of that kind of stuff. Physical attributes are one thing or another. But I wouldn't put height into that. Certainly size, like you were saying about Brock being a big block of meat. But I think Velveteen Dream, his ability to be quick-witted, fast-paced, but that's what I would throw out
It's
there.
a completely different kind of quick-witted and fast-paced, though. Like, I think Freddy is more. He's supposed to be like the evil little old man from down the street, right? The creepy kind of older guy from down the street.
Well, it depends on if you're talking about Herbert, talking to Chris, or because that's evil.
And that is an aspect of Freddy they don't really go into often. Is that like there's sometimes they're like, oh yeah, he raped the kids as well as killed them, and that makes him really dark, and you don't want to root for that guy then.
No.
Whereas sometimes they kind of go, no, he just killed the kids. He just killed the kids,
rape them.
hid the bodies in the boiler and burned them. He didn't actually rape them. That would just be really gross, and you wouldn't like Freddy quite so much.
Right.
That'd be weird. Yeah, sure, he's the son of 100 maniacs who all raped a nun on the night of Halloween one night, over like a week around Halloween. Sure, he's got a nasty history, but that's a whole different thing. Yeah, I'm going to have to come back to you on Freddy. I'm going to have to marinate on that some more because I don't know anybody right now who could really pull that off the
Great
top of my
question,
head.
Marshall.
Yeah, that's a great one. I love, you know me, I love my horror.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and try to dispute the merits of who would and wouldn't be a good horror movie villain with Sir Ian Dangerous himself. So I certainly relent to your nominations.
Why would not Jackson Riker be your Jason Voorhees? That's a great question.
It's a very good one. Very good nomination.
By Andy Jessup. Yep, good call.
Marco
stunt as Chucky.
Yeah, that's good. I think Andy's not Jackson Riker was from Martin's question about who I would make the top man. I think he was just ribbing me there. Thank you very much.
Marshall Enlow throwing out in here. He's actually answering his own question. He said the Halloween 5 Myers was short and fat. So yeah, you could have Halloween 5 be Joe, but first Halloween 1 was, what was he like? He was like the production designer guy. 5'9", barely anything. So
yeah,
he's just supposed to be there. The shape. Anyway, I could do this all day. Don't
Thank you, Marshall, for the question. You know how to trigger Sir Ian Dangerous.
Trigger.
Next up, Sean. Hope everyone had a good holiday season. We're almost on the road to WrestleMania, and I will continue to be skeptically optimistic going into the new year.
And we will continue to be positive for you, Sean. Thank you very
much. Who is going to have the biggest 2020? Give me your main title holders for the year. And I'm reading this as not who you want, but who you think will be. It's easy for me to say who I would want. That's Nick Fantasy Booking all over. But if I'm reading into where WWE has things on the path right now, headed to Mania, that's not so clear.
Roman Reigns.
What?
Who's going to the biggest 2020? That's good. That's a question. A good question. Well, largely because are we talking about like relative to 2019? Or are we talking about like who are going to be the top guys in 2020? And I think that could be two different things. I think that, the Keith Lee train will continue to roll in 2020. He's going to have a much bigger year. Rhea Ripley, the same thing. Like she's just getting going right now. I think Moxley is going to go from where he was to being a major part of AEW, which just kind of got rolling towards the end of 2019. But arguably, Moxley had an enormous 2019.
Yeah.
As far as WWE is concerned, they're kind of pushing that, it's going to be a big year for Drew McIntyre. Hopefully they're not lying about that. It's looking like Strowman might be going for the IC belt. That could be a good jumping off point for him, like you were saying, Nick.
Yep.
But I think it's going to be a year where they kind of reestablish that Roman Reigns is the guy. They feel more confident in him now that he's getting over this leukemia. And I think that they're probably going to go back to Roman being the guy in 2020. It's my feeling.
I don't know Roman being the guy. I feel like Roman's been the guy. We've just had this little interruptus where Seth has been the guy for the last 6 to 12 months, mainly because we're that interruption with Roman, or with his leukemia, and Seth kind of picked up the ball and ran with it alongside Becky Lynch, no pun intended. Did you know they're dating? They're engaged, by the way.
They're what? They're dating? They're seeing each other?
They're totally engaged.
No.
But I think that Becky kind of came out of nowhere in SummerSlam 18, and then at Survivor Series it really got punched into motion, thanks Nia Jax. And the man movement has encompassed 2019. I think I still Becky thing is faded a little bit, but if they get Asuka going, I think Asuka could have a big 2020.
I think she's going to start by putting over Becky, and that's going to be all we see of her for a while.
That will be the worst possible thing that they could do, and I'm not scared to say that you're probably right. My main title holders, I'm all in on Braun. I think Braun's going to have a huge 2020. I thought that, and then I saw SmackDown last night, and I just had a reservation. I feel like they've kind of not known what to do with him, but they've just kind of turned him loose the last few months, and he's just, as we've gotten onto Fox and SmackDown, and he's felt more like that just big meat castle again. And it just, do they turn him into like a super face, or do they flip him and does he become the new dragon? And that's what I'm unsure of. But I think Braun Strowman's going to have an absolutely massive 2020. I think McIntyre's going to have a big 2020. It feels like we're at the end of an era a little bit, and that's why I'm hesitant to say Roman Reigns, because it feels like that the Shield era, like Seth and Dean and Roman, like we're ending that. And I feel like Daniel Bryan's kind of, we're in his sort of swan song end of his career. So who's going to be the next decade's worth of superstars? I'm looking at Braun and McIntyre and some of the guys down in AEW. But if we're looking at WWE specifically here, I don't know how much longer Becky can keep this thing going. So,
well, I think that Roman is actually like, if we're comparing him to Cena, he's at like 2009, 2010 Cena. I mean, not while Cena wins the way that it was then, but certainly in terms of like time
Super
with the
Cena.
company, time with the company, and where he's going to be presented in this year.
You're referring to Roman, right?
Roman, is going to be there, like kind of how Cena was at the turn of the last decade. So where he's still got quite a few more years to go as the top guy. So that's my feeling.
Thank you very much, Sean. Next up, Josh. Have a million questions since you guys abandoned us for so long, but I'll narrow it down. Thank you, Josh. Good to be back. What finishing move do you think looks the most legitimate, and what seems it would really put someone down to be pinned? I'll jump in here and say that the Riptide that Rhea Ripley does.
It's an avalanche one, yeah.
That looks like some craziness. And she's got that weird like reverse cloverleaf thing that she does as well. That looks just gnarly, like it bends you in all kinds of ways. The most legit for me, a 400-pound man running you and just falling on you. I've had my problems with finishing moves like the coup de grace and little moves like that. But the 630 is awesome.
That's not gonna really.
That's not gonna put you down.
No.
But
come on, a move, Nick, that with that, like every time you look at it, you go, "There's no way they can get up from that."
End of days.
Their toes. No, really?
I love the
reverse self rock bottom. It looks cool. I don't look at it and go, "Oh, that person's not getting up from that." It's kind of like the Styles Clash, where it's a fancy looking move, but when I really kind of look at it, I'm like, that doesn't do shit to him.
So it's a flapjack. It's a flatliner.
Yeah. Come on. That's not going to do much.
That's fair.
Big elevated spike DDTs. Like 1916, Death Rider, those kinds of ones. I always like, what used to be the DDT. When I was a kid, Jake the Snake, he DDTs you, you're dead. You're dead. And in real life, I've seen fights ended by real life DDTs.
Wow. You
just put someone's head in a headlock and you just fall backwards and crack their skull on the ground. That fight's over. Straight up. I was going to make a joke answer to this and say the burning hammer, which is, got someone on your shoulders. So basically, you just put them on top of their head on the ground. But I mean, here's the thing. As far as like a move that when I see it like looks really legitimate, it's hard to not think of that when you see a move where you're putting someone's head into the ground, whether it's a curb stomp or a DDT or a burning hammer or anything like that. Anything where
Pentagon's package pile driver or muscle buster, those are the ones that really
like a real muscle buster. Yeah, like the sit down, not the fall on your back muscle buster, but the sit down muscle buster.
Yeah.
The one that can actually break your neck. Yeah, those are finishing moves that I'm like, but I'm gonna go.
My favorite right now in WWE is still Murphy's Law. It's the snap of it, the flip of it, the fisherman nature of it, just all that stuff.
Beautiful move, but it's another one that I don't look at and go, that's gonna end a dude.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not in the same way. Like I'm putting it on a scale of like, because again, beautiful looking finisher. And Braun Strowman's running powerbomb looks like it would knock the damn wind out of you. Yeah. Realistically. But if I'm putting it on a scale of like elevated spike DDT, where that just, it looks like your entire body weight is compacting your neck. And it's like I'm getting like an image of like the new Mortal Kombat games, where like you get the X-ray vision. And the guy's up in the air, and you bring him down. You see the spine just it just all crushes and splinters off, and the top of the head just splits open. Like that's what I see when I see that move. Murphy's Law, you get your wind knocked out. Yeah. So on that scale, it doesn't quite hold up for me. I'm trying to think if there's anything more.
You're in camp DDT then. Anything that's a modified DDT.
I'm totally in that. I'm trying to think of moves that are gnarlier than that.
See, I think of things that disorient you, that take the wind out of you, things like that as well. I mean, you're going straight head injury. You're like ending life.
Yeah. Well, I'm putting it on a scale. Like he's what did he say? He was like, what's the most legitimate and something that would really put someone down to be pinned? Kill him. Knock him out. Go for the head. Yeah. Like knock out their wind.
It's Christmas, not Halloween right now, Sir Ian.
Oh, sorry. Marshall! Got me going. I don't know, dude. I watched. I know that I think Andy Jessup did too. I watched Bill Goldberg in Santa's Sleigh this year for my Christmas movie. If y'all don't know, I know we're after the Christmas season now. There is a movie out there called Santa's Sleigh, SLAY.
With the horror.
It's also wrestling. Bill Goldberg plays evil Santa, evil fire blowing Santa. All right, this is one of the greatest. You can watch this at any time of the season, and it's amazing. Bill Goldberg.
What is the other one that you play at the bar all the time? That's the evil Santa one.
Oh, Rare Exports.
Rare Exports, yeah.
Yeah. That's
if you haven't seen Rare Exports, check that one out.
That's a great one. Yeah. Scandinavian horror Santa. Good stuff.
Thank you very much for the question there, Josh. Next up, Andy. Wishing you the happiest of New Year's and glad you guys are back. Thank you very much, Andy. Same to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
One thing I'd noticed during indie shows is that without corporate sponsors or shareholders, the shows can do more ridiculous things that make no sense, and the whole crowd buys into it. The Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan match is an example. It's the number one reason I love wrestling. The number one reason you love wrestling? So what is your most bizarre memory at an indie show? Most of the shows I've been to were WWE shows. I've been to a few of the PWG events. Ian and I have, but that's the extent of mine. We weren't at the Liger one with the butt thumb thing.
No, I wasn't live at that either. The legendary butthole of Jushin Thunder Liger.
The legendary asshole of Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yes, where you had multiple
They're all
current
main roster
champions,
guys, yeah.
people that have like held belts now in WWE, all walking around the ring with thumbs up each other.
Ciampa, Aleister Black.
All thumbs up each other's buttholes. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Jeff
What a
Cobb.
crazy, yeah, what a crazy moment that was. And Juice and the Liger walking them all around.
Yeah.
It would be hard to not have that be one of the most bizarre things you've seen. I don't know, man. Most bizarre thing I've seen at an indie show. XPW was pretty bizarre back in the day. Messiah with his lack of thumbs. But
Is CZW considered indie?
yeah, oh yeah.
So I did go to one, I think it was in Atlanta. It was like 2002, 2004 maybe. But I saw a guy, it was on the Tron, or it was on the video thing. It wasn't, somehow, they had a guy come off of a balcony through it looked like Lincoln logs of light tubes. And it was about 6 feet high. And there must have been 100 light tubes in there sitting on top of 2 tables.
Yeah.
And a power bomb through, I don't think that's what he's asking, but that's probably the most extreme thing I've ever seen. It's kind of bizarre because you're going through that many light tubes, but I've never seen anything at an indie show that's as bizarre as the Invisible Man match, which basically was the referee selling the whole thing.
Well, yeah, it's just a brilliant. I mean, it's one guy wrestling himself.
Right.
You know, I didn't see it live, but obviously, you know, Ibushi wrestling the blow-up doll, or Kenny Omega wrestling the 9-year-old girl.
Right.
Chucky T wrestling a match in slow motion. They throw like a fake grenade, and when the grenade blows off, everyone has to move in slow motion.
Well, that's
slow
like
motion
Liger
wrestling
with
match.
his remote control again, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. The invisible hand grenade. What was that? That was in Chikara. Of course it was in Chikara. It's always in Chikara. Yeah, that's always fun. The invisible grenade making everyone go into slow motion.
Yeah.
Is always a fun one because that's, to me, you know, if you're looking at wrestling as performance art, these are examples. It's not bizarre. It's actually taking it down to the basic concepts of the performance that you're doing, the performance art that you're doing, and rewriting those rules. So to me, it's almost like a postmodern pro wrestling, which is really cool. I'm not like Jim Cornette where I'm like, they're breaking the business. It's actually, you're taking the art and going postmodern with it.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think it's a lot of fun. That's really cool.
And Andy's right. They do have the ability to do that more so in the indies than they would ever do on TV.
Oh God, yeah.
You're gonna lose people immediately if you try. Like Orange Cassidy is about as obscure of a thing that they're probably gonna be able to get away with on TV.
Right.
And people are still popping like crazy for it. Like the Best Friends pulled a ladder out from under the ring last week, and Orange Cassidy was just laying on it with his hands in his pocket. I popped for it too, guys. I'm guilty. I'm as guilty as anybody. And he's just laying there on it. He looks up at it, and they shove him back they shove the ladder back. Nope, we're not going to use that ladder. And he just goes back up. And I'm just going, I'm dying laughing. And the entire audience is dying laughing. I'm not going to say there's not room for it in my wrestling. Like the smallest of doses, and Orange Cassidy is about as far as you can get in TV. But yes, you can absolutely get away with so much more stuff in the indies than you could ever on any of the TV shows. The advertisers would lose their minds. If you had nobody out there and just a ref in the ring calling a match that was 2 invisible guys, Volvo's not going to want to run an ad on that, you know?
Well, the first thing I thought of was the XPW show that I went to, which is one of the most uncomfortable shows I've ever been to because it was just so poorly run. There was actually a point in the match where they were having a death match. Light bulb tubes came out, and they went for like a lightsaber hit, and they hit the 2 light tubes together. And as you would expect with a spot like that, the top half of one of the light tubes just went off into the crowd. It was a scary show. New Jack was there. He was jumping off of stuff and being ridiculous. Sandman was there when he was really fat and drunk, and some chick was like drinking beer off of his chest, and he was drinking beer off the chick's chest, and it was just a mess of a show. But I can't say that there was anything like too bizarre other than it was just a mess of a show.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick with Chucky T slow motion grenade.
All right. Thank you very much, Andy. And as well, happy New Year to you as well. Next up, Abraham. Hope you guys had a great Christmas. You were missed. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Happy New Year to you both and the rest of the BWO Nation.
Thank you, man. Hope you enjoy that tore-up Roman Reigns doll that you got for losing the Pick'ems Challenge. Dog Ziggler wants it back. He's already missing it terribly.
He's challenging for it.
What's funny is like I had to take that toy away from Dog Ziggler. So like that match ended so quickly. The match between Roman Reigns and Dog Ziggler ended so quickly because he is such a vicious beast when it comes to little stuffed animals.
Wow,
it's insane. Anyway,
his question is a really good one. You wake up to an email addressed to BWO Supreme Leaders. It's from WWE, and you have a chance to sit down with Vince for 30 minutes. You're only allowed 3 questions. Everything's on the table. Anything can be asked. What 3 questions would you have ready for your interview? I've been stewing on this for 4 hours now.
Well, is he compelled to answer any question I ask? Or is it going to be one of those things?
Let's assume yes. That he has to give an honest, genuine answer.
Oh, Jesus.
To your question.
Number 1, what really happened with Macho Man?
Oh, man, that's a good one.
That would be my first one. Okay, I gave one. You gave one. You give one while I think about my second one.
Why did you think Stone Cold's heel turn would work?
I think they've kind of answered that, though. Like Stone Cold actually has said like it seemed like a good idea at the time, and he kind of gave an explanation for it. I'm pretty sure that whatever his thought was Vince's thought because they were both in on it, which was it's going to swerve the people. We got Rock. This will totally work because we've got another guy, and then Rock left, and they were like, crap.
Yeah.
You know how it is when you can easily convince yourself of something if you're in a bubble and you can say, okay, the fans aren't going to like this at first, but they'll understand later. And it was like, no, they didn't want this at all. And Vince has had a few of those over the years where he's just like, I'm sure this is this will be just fine. And everyone's like, no, it's really not, dude. It's really not okay. But yeah, fair. I mean, I would love to hear what his rationale was for it, for sure.
Yeah. There's a question in the chat. Can you clarify what your question was about with what really happened with Macho Man?
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So Macho Man and Vince had a major falling out at the end of Macho's time. Partly was because Vince kind of forced him to resign from being in ring, which is why he had him be an announcer. And Macho, and he was like, you're never going to be the top guy. So let's find another role for you. And, Macho was trying to politic and get in on Hogan. Here's the real thing, though, is that their falling out, when they fell out and Macho left and went to WCW and had a number more years of being a top wrestler, there was something beyond, like just the perception of the wrestling community at large and myself as well from kind of like looking at it and researching it, was that it wasn't a typical, like a lot of guys walked away from Vince in those days. Either walked in and then walked out or whatever. Like there was a lot of coming and going, and Vince came around on them. Like eventually, they could get in the Hall of Fame or he'd bring them back or whatever. Macho and Vince never mended fences, ever. And it was one of those things where Macho didn't get into the Hall of Fame until like the last couple of years. Y'all made fun of me recently because I thought he still wasn't in, because that's how long it was. That's how much we were like, oh, he's Macho needs to be in. And he finally got in. I was like, oh, that's right. And it was so also ignominious the way they put him in there, having Hulk Hogan induct him, which was just incredibly insulting given the relationship the two of them had. But there was always this perception that there was something else going on besides just money or politics or whatever. And one of the theories is that Macho Man had an illicit relationship with an underage Stephanie McMahon, and Vince never forgave him for it. And yes, it's salacious, but Macho's my dude. And I want to know why it was so hard to get him in the Hall of Fame and why he was persona non grata for so long, even if it's something as terrible as that. I would want to know what the deal was with Vince and Macho. So to clarify, and sorry for not clarifying earlier.
No worries. I said mine. What was your next one?
Let's see. That's the thing. This is one I'd like I would want like a week to prep for this if I have to interview Vince. If it was like you're thrown into a room with Vince and like, hey, you got 3 questions for him. Hi, Mr. McMahon. What? Man, that's tough. It's definitely I would want to have a question about him and his father. You know, like something to the extent of, what lessons of your father do you think that you kept and held on to, and which ones did you utterly disregard and why? We kind of know the ones that he disregarded and why. Some of them at least, like, don't ever be a performer, don't buy up the other territories. But I'm curious, like, what other ones? Because Vince's relationship with his pops was very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I
think we said that's what on a bonus episode or something that we did. That was one of the things I'd want to understand.
Yeah.
Why he ultimately decided to turn on his father's wishes,
like
of
really turn on
like consolidating the territories. And then how did you get to the point where you just bought him out? Was it
Oedipal? Was there something more? Like, did you and your dad have beef? Was it just, that's what you believed you had to do from a business standpoint? Like, is that just part of his psychology? Is Vince McMahon self-aware or, able to look honestly inside himself enough to know what that really is at this point? I don't know, but I'd certainly like to know if he had any thoughts on it, and whether or not he'd be honest would be a real interesting point too. Yeah. And that's not a very fun question to ask, but for me, like,
tell us about your daddy issues, Vince.
Tell me about your daddy issues. Of all things I could ask Vince McMahon, tell me about your daddy issues.
No, I mean, the daddy issues are frankly what spurred what we know today as WWE into existence.
It's foundational. That's what because here's the thing. Let's be clear. Vince McMahon is one of the most fascinating characters alive today across in any milieu, in any sport, in any form of entertainment in the world. He is a fascinatingly bizarre guy. Like, consider what he's done in his life, what he could do, what he could be doing, what potentially how he could have run his life and his company and everything else, and what he decided to do. Whether it's getting his head shaved on national TV by Donald Trump, whether it's, deciding to betray his father and everything that his father stood for and buy him out and become this huge mogul of this bizarre industry that we all love. The XFL, like, he is a bizarre dude. And the stories you hear about him backstage, like all the apocryphal stories about Vince McMahon hating it when he sneezes and only eating like steak burritos or whatever. The crazy stories you hear about the guy. Like, he's a fascinating individual, for better or for worse. Like, is he a good person or a bad person? I don't know if I'm morally qualified to answer that question.
Yeah.
But he's fascinating. And one of the things that fascinates me about him is the motivation behind a lot of this. And a lot of that comes from what was up with you and your daddy.
Yep.
So that's my number 2 question.
I think in line with that one is, why do we keep hearing people say the same things about WWE after they leave? I've heard the phrase "audience of one" more times than I can count by expats. And why do you not crowdsource your booking or your information from this army of people that you have surrounded yourself with and entrusted with producing your shows, whether they're house shows, main events, main roster shows on premium networks, pay-per-views, whatever? You have this army of people, yet we heard most recently this week from Arn Anderson saying in a short conversation, I think it was with Brian Alvarez or somebody, that he says he almost had imposter syndrome in the sense that he didn't feel like he was good enough anymore after he was just repeatedly shut down time and time again as a producer in WWE. So 4 years of that kind of beating you down.
How many years?
4. Yeah.
Come on, just work.
I'm with you.
Okay, we're here. Throwing the four horsemen symbol.
But
Nick is no selling me. Nick is no selling me over here. All right, come on.
Hearing the enforcer himself say like he had been relegated to nothingness, and he kept going back to, even though the producers would work with creative, none of their ideas would ever get through. Why not? Why not? And it'd be easy to flippantly say, "Oh, they can work good enough." That's not why. There's something else going on in there. The reason why nobody's ideas are good enough except Vince's.
Well, and it's funny because I think there's a certain bit of Howard Hughes syndrome going on here, where what Vince once was might have just become. And if you guys don't understand the reference there, the end of Howard Hughes' life, he became a bit of a hermit, and because he had so much money, no one really told him yes or no, or like he just became kind of a nut because no one was there to tell him no, and I feel like a similar thing is happening with Vince. He's got kind of a bit more of like a founder's syndrome, like a George Lucas with Star Wars, where he's kind of lost the plot a little bit. And I feel like a lot of
the good thing about your Howard Hughes reference there that I want to jump in on you with is that Howard did a lot of things right. He got a lot of things. He got a lot of gut shot choices right. A big film that was okay, that was kind of the first in 20th century cinema.
Yep.
And then he got the plane buying up all the airlines, consolidating the airlines, got that right. So if you're told you do things right enough times, you're always going to believe that you're doing the right thing. So look at the success of the Attitude Era and then the purchase of WCW and that consolidation. I think you're more spot on than you realize with the Howard Hughes reference.
No, but I meant it for a reason, is that you start off, as you said, doing a bunch of things right, but it gets codified and it gets to the point where you never grow beyond that. You don't continuously try to challenge yourself because you just assume that you're right, and you fall back into the, well, if I'm doing it, it must be right mentality. Yeah. I think that once upon a time, Vince was truly being told no and innovating and struggling, and I don't think that's happening anymore. He's not struggling anymore. He just assumes that and lets things happen. I want to know, I'm curious about old Vince. Where did you come from?
Yeah,
because once you're at this point, once you're Howard Hughes with the long fingernails and the long hair and the OCD, like I'm not as interested in that.
Right. No, that's a really good point.
What's your second question?
I think that was my second.
Oh.
I don't remember where we are. I think we've each got one more.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah, I would. What is your plans for handing over the reins?
Oh Jesus!
What
you assume he has them?
He
could shut you down by being like, I don't have any.
Fine, but I'd probably still ask. Yeah, given that you're going to die in the chair, are you grooming Triple H? Are you grooming Paul Heyman? Is there active planning long term, whether it's 10 years or 20 years from now, for you to step aside and for WWE to continue to live on its legacy? Or is it going to die with you? It is kind of where I would intend that question to go. Does WWE live and die with Vince McMahon?
Right.
Yeah.
That was your final question?
Yeah.
My final question would be, can I have $1 million?
Yeah.
Can I have $100 million? Excuse me. Can I have $100 million?
$1 billion. No.
I mean, how about a million? $1 million. You can spare a million. What's a million? What's a million? It's nothing.
Thank you very much, Abraham. That's a really good one. Makes me think a lot. He said also, was it me or was Lawler better on this week's Raw? I got a few chuckles from him, and I forgot how much I didn't like him. It was mostly overshadowed by Samoa Joe.
Yep, agreed. I mean, he was better. I think the more prep time Lawler gets, the better he is. I think he just got flustered last week. Maybe he lost his notes or something. I don't know. Yeah. But, I can tell you from doing this show, some days are better than others.
Yeah.
some days you're on, some days you're not.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Abraham, and enjoy your booby prize, sir. Next up, Patrick asked, this question has been bothering me for days. Uh-oh. Do you feel with WWE having their own network to stream pay-per-views and dropping the price from $50 to $9.99 a month, do you feel like it has damaged the way they pay off feuds? I feel like since the network is launched, pay-per-views don't mean as much as they used to. Like, for example, not announcing matches for a pay-per-view until the day of. Do you think they feel like they don't have to do as well because they think people should just be happy for the price they're getting? There's a lot to unpack in there.
I think it's pretty straightforward. I think that in a general sense that, yeah, Patrick's onto something here. I think that there is definitely an aspect of WWE creative that doesn't care as much about pushing buy rates on pay-per-views. There are now times to sell the network and try and push the network, but that's not as big of immediate dividends. So they do tend to, they're still stuck in a format that I think is because of where they're going with their format. The format's dead. And if you look at
the pay-per-view format, you mean?
Well, yeah, and the way that WWE's running it, and I mean, if they're going to pay, like, they need to have some sort of look. And again, it's kind of like the wild card rule where they'll just throw some Band-Aid on it in the meantime. And the Band-Aid right now is, well, we'll still treat it kind of like the pay-per-views matter. But at the end of the day, like, if we don't treat it like a pay-per-view, it's okay because it's not really a pay-per-view. It's a special event.
It's an event. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're looking at it more from the live crowd standpoint, trying to sell a bigger house for a live crowd, pushing the live crowd. And they still get some pay-per-view buy rates for their pay-per-views, people who don't have the network for whatever reason, or want to go watch it at like a bar or something, but it's nowhere near what it once was for obvious reasons. I think that right now it is definitely undercutting their creative, and it could get worse. But at the same time, it's also something that could be a fairly easy fix if you just sit down and go, okay, why are we structured this way? How else could we be structured to drive people to certain events? I don't know. I don't like that structure because to me it seems obvious when you pay off feuds. You know what I mean? From a storytelling standpoint, I like when stories are organic. It's why we were initially so excited about Lucha Underground. Was that it felt much more organic. Like, yes, they had big shows, but it felt like a much more organic way of telling stories. And WWE is still stuck in that, like, multiple season finales, and you're never sure which one is the real season finale kind of situation. And even they don't know. Sometimes they just lose the plot on their own stories because they don't know week to week, day to day, what necessarily they're aiming towards. Are we built? The big one is WrestleMania. They know they want to build towards WrestleMania. So you see a lot of stuff being guided towards that. If they could have, all the pay-per-views be markers along the way towards that consistently, that would be a great step in the right direction. But they don't do that.
Yeah.
It tends to be a little bit more haphazard. And it was that even before the network, it was kind of haphazard. But yes, I agree with Patrick here. It has felt a little bit more haphazard since.
I think a lot of it has to. I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yeah, done. Go.
So the thing that I'm immediately drawn to is the way is a society thing. It's an economical construct in the sense of everything's a subscription now, and these have changed everything in the last 10 to 15 years.
He says, holding up his phone.
I'm holding my iPhone for those not watching on stream, which you should be. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. My point being is that we are cord cutters. We are app button tappers. The complete way that we digest content has completely changed, or we consume content has completely changed.
Influencers. I'm an influencer. Look at me. I'm a Coachella. Look at me. I'm so pretty.
Yeah. So my point being is that it's a much more $10 a month is much more digestible. Plus, they got you for the whole year, not just one pay-per-view.
Right.
And they're going to throw you little carrots like Table for 3 and here's Ride Along and content they're shooting with their iPhones and GoPros and paying somebody $50 an hour to cut it all together so that they can just overload you with content because look at this amazing value. We're getting all of this value, blah, 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 blah. It's like how often it's a gym membership. And this is the way you have to look at it. So there are the hardcore people, there are the bodybuilders and the pro weightlifters that go to the gym twice a day, and they make everything they can out of that gym membership. And there are people that watch every episode of Table for Three and Ride Along and Chronicle and 24 and 365, everything the network puts out. There are people that watch it. They are the 1%. They are whales in freemium models and in anything like economic subscription models like that. Me, I watch NXT and the pay-per-views. I occasionally, on a very rare occasion, will go watch a Ride Along or a Chronicle or a Table for Three. Right? I have the network for NXT and pay-per-views. And I would say that's the vast majority of people, but they're still paying that same rate that everybody else is. You're still getting that $10 a month that you're getting from your whales out of this little person that doesn't use the service that much either. So it's twofold. It's one, they're getting you for the whole year. They're getting you for the full month at least, not just they're indoctrinating you into the network.
But he's saying, like, what's the motivation to make the pay-per-view special at that point?
Because people stopped buying them. People started cutting cords. People don't have cable anymore. We're not all on satellite dishes.
No, we're not talking about like whether the network's a good idea, because I think that just to cut you off there, I think it was a good idea. I think it was very forward thinking.
Yeah, it was.
But is that hurting their model of shows, like how the show model works, the creative model?
Yeah, I was certainly getting to that. Because when that changes, when you have to think about how people are consuming your content, and that it's a little bit more there's so much content to consume, you only have so much time in the day. So do they invest the amount of time that they used to creating the content for pay-per-views, or can I go create 10 other episodes of 10 other shows, give you more content, but just we're spending less time creating the pay-per-view storylines? That combined with Vince hot-shotting everything off the back of his napkin as he sees fit, it is not a good recipe for things either. So does the network, being as cheap as it is, dumb down pay-per-views? I don't know. I think the idea that we have too many of them probably makes them feel less gravitas than whether or not we're paying $60 or $10 a month.
I mean, I think his question was something along the lines of, do they feel like they don't have to do as well because they're getting, like, we should just be happy for the price that we're getting? And I don't know if that's exactly the mentality, but there's certainly like, we don't have to worry as much about drawing. Like, like you look at AEW right now, and they need to make you really excited to go spend $50. And in a world where there's a WWE network, I mean, on the show, we had people writing in and being like, damn, that's a lot of money to spend on AEW, man. I don't know. The whole idea, the way that wrestling has been built for decades and decades, ever since pay-per-view started. And before that, it was going to live shows, was you talk people into the building. You're selling a product, and your product is that match.
Promo.
And right. And with the pay-per-views, the whole idea was make people have to spend that $50 to watch your show. Like that, I gotta know is he finally gonna beat the bad guy? Is this finally is he gonna get his revenge? What's gonna happen? Oh my, I don't want to, fear of missing out, whatever it is. Like that was driving people to spend $50.
FOMO and doing this show is the one thing that made me give AEW $60 a couple times this year.
Right, exactly. And if you hadn't, they wouldn't have gotten your $60. So now that WWE doesn't have to work as hard, like they really don't, and they're not, and I don't blame them. It's hard to push that hard. It's hard to get out there and push to get people to buy something they don't necessarily want to buy. They're unsure if they want to buy. It's hard to do that. But as a result, they're now kind of in a bit of a limbo where people aren't taking their pay-per-views as seriously because they're not really making them as big of events.
Yeah, it makes me want to go back. I had to dig for it. Episode number 4. June 3rd, 2017, we called it I Am the Cable, where we talked about cord cutting and the difference that the network made and stuff. One of our earliest episodes. But I'm going to go back and listen to that one now. I'd be curious to hear how my opinion has changed over the course of a couple of years, 3 years.
Yeah.
But I was a very early adopter of cutting the cord. The network was a boon for me. I started back in, I think, 2012 or 2013. I just didn't have cable, and it was an Apple TV, and whatever I could get on Apple TV was what I got. So
I remember that. You were actually a guy that convinced me to cut cable back in the day.
So it was a big deal for me for the network to come around. Do I sit here and judge WWE's quality of pay-per-views because I'm paying $10 a month versus that? No, but I see your point where you can get there.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool. If you're going to drop the quality of the pay-per-view because of this new business model, then figure out another way to give me value.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's now being if I'm getting more value for I'm only spending $10 a month, you got me locked in. And so I might be spending $50 here or there, but now you got me $10 a month all the time. Cool, but you have to keep me invested all the time.
Yeah.
And building up to these kind of half-hearted season, like pseudo season finales, at some point, if I'm the average fan, that's going to wear off. So that's a good question, Patrick. Thank you very much.
Definitely a very good one there. All right, couple more here to go. Austin, hey guys, happy holidays. So I feel the U.S. title
happy
has
holidays
become.
to you.
Yes. I feel the U.S. title has become the new IC title, meaning it's the workhorse belt, and the IC belt is just slapped on a person that's on TV with no true matches leading to it. How do you guys feel about the mid-card titles and how WWE has used them in the past few months?
Interchangeable, depends on who they're on, depends on what brand they're on. Yeah, I kind of agree with this. It's the U.S. title has been in and out of prominence. The IC belt has been in and out of prominence. They're props for feuds at this point.
Yep. It's false stakes, I guess you could say.
The only thing, sorry. The only thing I was going to say, the only thing with the U.S. title right now is there's no other major belt on Raw. It's essentially vacant until Brock deigns to come back for the Rumble. So,
damn it.
So the U.S. title gets more prominence because they need a belt to do something with.
Yeah.
So they're going to do something with the U.S. belt, and the fact that
they're going to do something with the IC belt on SmackDown with Braun and Shinsuke.
Theoretically, but the problem is that no one takes Shinsuke seriously right now with that IC belt. Like everyone's like, okay, he's the IC champ, so what? So what?
Get it off of him, you know.
I hope Braun brings some more prestige to it if they give it to him.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you very much, Austin. Next up, Brandon. Finally,
yes.
Brandon. Hope you guys had a great Christmas and welcome back. Thank you, Brandon.
And to you.
Including all promotions, which old pay-per-views would you like to have a comeback in 2020 and what gimmick matches?
Oh.
Thanks, guys, and Happy New Year.
That's a bit tough because, like, what pay-per-views do you miss?
I don't know why I miss it, but I remember it. I remember it having some killer matches. No Mercy. I don't know if it got turned into something else, but for some reason in the late 90s, the matches there, you had No Mercy.
What is No Mercy? It's just the name of a show.
Sure, it's no different than friggin' Backlash.
Right.
It's as
Stomping grounds.
What old pay-per-views?
Great balls of fire.
Yeah.
Like I see this question more as like, were there any unique pay-per-view, like a King of the Ring? They brought King of the Ring back this year, and we were like, this is awesome, great. I love tournament pay-per-views. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like anytime you have not a brawl for all, obviously, but like something where there's a tournament going on for some prize. Give me something something special. You know, Evolution they should bring back. All women's pay-per-view. That was awesome last time.
Yes.
They did a great job with it. And probably in keeping with the theme of myself on this episode today, Halloween Havoc. Damn it.
Oh.
Bring back a all Halloween themed show. Everything should be creepy. All the matches of stipulations that involve something supernatural or spooky or Halloweeny. Give Alistair back his proper goddamn entrance. That's what I would love to see Halloween Havoc come back.
Coffin matches.
Yeah, have a last time I saw a coffin match was actually Lucha Underground again.
Yeah.
Buried Alive match at Halloween Havoc.
Grave Consequences. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, Buried Alive match at Halloween Havoc. There you go, Brandon.
Man.
That's my answer to this. Boom.
I don't really know what gimmick matches do I love. They're still here. I don't know that any are gone.
How about this? How about do them better than they're doing right now? Maybe that can be your maybe that can be your wish.
We just had TLC and it was mostly just meh.
Hoot garbage.
I pine for the early days of TLC, Edge and Christian and the Hardys and Dudley Boys, and that's probably the thing I miss the most when it comes to gimmicked pay-per-views and matches. Ladder matches we have plenty of, but proper TLC matches that are horrifying at some of the death-defying feats.
Those poor wrestlers,
those guys do, just
dying for your entertainment, Nick.
The Hardys made their name off the back of it. Dudley's made their name off the back of it. Edge and Christian being able to hang with both those teams made their name off the back of it. And I can't think of anything where we've had three of the biggest teams and some of the largest figures in the industry in the last 30 years off of one gimmick, basically. One gimmicked match style.
What about like the stacked cage match, like the one where David Arquette won the title? No.
War Games was good enough. I don't want to go that far.
All right.
The double ring thing intrigues me. I wish they would almost like cut the ropes out of the middle. I know it's the original thing, but I kind of want to see like a big rectangle match. And like, can you run the ropes all the way ring to ring and just get like super speed and have Roman do like some crazy super spear because he's going that much faster? Yeah. Does he? By God, he's cut him in half.
Well, if we're having ideas like that, bring back the House of Horrors match.
Yeah,
House
that Asylum
Horrors
match. The Asylum match with all the shit in it, you know?
Oh, you mean a Monsters Ball match? Oh, sorry. WWE doesn't own the rights to that. I'm sorry. You're right. Asylum match. Excuse me. Yeah.
So,
there you go. Halloween Havoc.
There you go.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Halloween Havoc. Yeah.
Yeah. Fast show.
I mostly just miss the late 90s. That's all.
Nick Howell sounding like every wrestling podcaster ever. Where's the Attitude Era? What the Attitude Era back? Hashtag
there were a lot of shitty things about the Attitude Era, but
there
were
really
a lot
were
of really good things too that
I'm enjoying things right now. We are living in a wonderful time.
Of wrestling in general, absolutely. There's
everything else sucks. Wrestling is great right now.
Well, I meant any particular never mind. It's late. We're rusty. We got to shake the ring rust off, but not before we disappear for New Year's Eve this Tuesday, guys. Make sure that you update your calendars and stuff like that. There will be no show on Tuesday.
Yes.
Unfortunately, but we will be back full time on the full schedule in the midst of Wrestle Kingdom 14 a week from tonight.
Oh, Lord.
So next weekend, it is going down. You better believe there's going to be all kinds of posts. Please keep all the spoilers out of the Facebook group so Sheriff McDonald doesn't message me at 3 a.m. saying, should I take this post down or not? That we have to actually have conversations about that stuff. Keep it in the Discord. That's what it's for. Those live chats are there for a reason.
Sheriff McDonald's liver is already on the edge. Don't push it over.
Yes, it is indeed. Do not make him stressed out. It is the holiday season after all. Guys, that is our show here. Thank you very much to all of our patrons for getting all of those questions in. I know it was last minute. But we were just kind of coming up for air in the last 24 hours. So thank you guys very much. Thanks for hanging with us through a little technical difficulty too earlier in the show. But if you're just listening to this on the podcast, you have no idea what I'm referring to. So don't worry about it. You can always head over to Facebook. Join us over there, facebook.com. Just search for Busted Wide Open. Like our page and send us a join request to get into the group where you can find the link to the aforementioned Discord server and community. Make sure you're signed up for there as well. And patrons, if you sign up for the Discord, make sure you go back to Patreon and sign into Discord with your perk so you can get your actual role from being a patron in the Discord server. I know that sounds like a lot of technical jargon, but you probably understand what I'm saying. Just go back and check your Patreon. Last but certainly not least, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at BWO Podcast, and we stream live right here on YouTube every Tuesday, except this coming one because it's New Year's Eve, at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific, and every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at Data Center Dude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God, would somebody stop the damn match?
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.